Welcome back to the Green Plate Special Garden. It's been a while since our last video. There's been a lot going on, other things that we needed to focus on. But we thought some joyful garden content would be a nice thing to bring into your space right now. And so since it's been a while since our last video, I thought instead of diving deep into a particular topic, we can instead just kind of do a garden tour and talk about all the things that are happening in the garden in the early summer here in Seattle. So it's July 10th and we are just gonna look around at some of the highlights. Here's the overview walking into the garden. You can see the greenhouse over there and our trellises on this side. And then just so much growing happening. I think this here is my favorite part of the garden. It's so lush with zucchinis and tomatoes, and we've been doing a lot of companion planting, so we have marigolds planted with all of our tomatoes. They are said to prevent some of the pests that cause problems for tomatoes, and whether or not that's true, they are also very beautiful. And another big difference this year compared to previous years is that we have covered up our pizza oven with a fridge that was necessary for our grocery distribution efforts, and since we don't have youth here, there wasn't as much need for pizza parties. We have sort of a short summer growing season in Seattle since it doesn't really start to get warm until July. And so we like to do everything we can to sort of extend the season in this garden through microclimates. And so you can see two different examples of that. So over here, over some of our peppers and eggplants, we have this clear plastic fabric. It's called a cloche, and it creates sort of a warmer environment for those peppers and eggplants right now. I'll probably take that off in the next couple of weeks once the plants outgrow it, but it allowed us to plant those things out a little earlier than we otherwise would have. Over here is sort of the opposite. This is a shade cloth that we have put over some of our more tender, sort of cooler season crops like lettuces that we just want to be able to extend into the summer a little bit longer than it normally would. Our walnut tree is a little bit lonely without any young people to climb on it this summer. Still plenty of squirrels. Still throwing walnuts at us like always. This is one of my favorite spots in the garden right now. We have these trellises on either side of this path, and we have beans that have been growing up these for a couple months now, and they're going to be producing the dry beans that we are going to store for cooking over the winter. And then over here I have also planted some of the sort of fresh like snap or string beans that are going to be coming up pretty shortly. But if we keep going down here, you see we're getting into the territory where there are some beautiful red flowers. These are the flowers of the scarlet runner bean, and we have had hummingbirds just loving these red flowers for the last month or so. So every time, probably at least once a day, I'll hear a hummingbird and I'll look over and there's 1 to 4 hummingbirds flitting about in these flowers, and they actually help to pollinate the flowers too. So insects aren't the only pollinators. We've got hummingbirds pollinating out here with us as well. Speaking of pollinators, this wild patch of flowers has been a favorite among the honeybees and bumblebees in our garden. Let's see if we can find one. There's a little honeybee. Right in the middle of the shot there. Ooh, and I also see a bumblebee right there. Now you might be wondering why I waited to plant the string beans so long over there at the trellises way over there. And that's because we initially had peas growing on those trellises, and we had started some string beans here in the bush bean form. So we were able to start harvesting string beans from these bush beans about a week, maybe 2 weeks ago. So beans can grow either as bush beans or pole beans, and bush beans are the ones that form their own, kind of hold themselves up in this small sort of bushy shape, and then the pole beans are the ones that can grow on a trellis and climb up as tall as you want. But if you look closer, we've got all these beautiful string beans forming. This is a purple string bean variety. And then we also have your more classic green beans. Back in early April, I had taken a video that showed some little tiny baby mustard greens that were starting to pop out of the soil. And we have more mustard greens here, but they are not the same mustard greens because actually, believe it or not, since April, those little seedlings grew up into big plants, and we harvested pounds and pounds of leaves off of them, and then they reached the end of their life cycle. So this is actually our second sowing of mustard greens of the year. And we have these under this shade cloth just because I find it kind of helps them last a little bit longer before they start to flower and produce seeds and slow down their production of leaves. We have tons of green tomatoes, but we've only just started to see some of our tomato plants ripening, and those are in some of the sunnier, warmer areas of the garden. Like over here, this plant is starting to have some ripe tomatoes. The summer squash have been super happy. We've probably gotten maybe 50 pounds of summer squash off of our plants so far this year, and we were able to plant them out a little bit earlier this year than we typically would, just because we had such a warm spring, and so we got a little bit of a head start as compared to previous years. The cucumbers are racing up this trellis, and it looks like the one in the middle here is going to be the first to reach the top. And if we zoom in, you can see a cute little cucumber that's starting to form. Probably going to be ready to harvest next week. Definitely going to be ready to harvest next week. We harvested our garlic about 3 weeks ago, so you can see it's been laying out here to dry. When you're drying your garlic, it's good to leave it in a place where it's not going to be in direct sun, so somewhere cool but well ventilated, so it can form these nice papery husks. Let's see, I think, yeah, this might be our biggest one, or maybe this one. Pretty proud of that head of garlic. And then also, just this week, we started harvesting shallots. So there are some nicely sized ones. There are also some kind of puny ones, but these will leave to cure for a little bit as well, so that they can store for longer than if we were to just eat them now. You could eat them now, but if you want to be able to keep them in storage, you want to let the outer sort of leaves or petals of the onion to dry. This upper bed has our pumpkin patch and winter squash patch for the year, and it's sort of a sea of leaves at this point. It has kind of taken over the space, and I just saw the first pumpkin starting to form the other day. So where is it? Or there are a bunch of them that are starting to form, but this one's actually kind of sizable. So that's pretty exciting. Look, you can see lots more little babies if you look around. And now I'm out front, and I just wanted to show you how amazing our grapevines are that are growing over the top of our sign and in both directions. And check it out! They're starting to form. They're still like pretty small and quite hard. I think they would be pretty sour if we tried to eat them, but in another couple months it's gonna be time to harvest. I think last year we harvested about 130 pounds of grapes. At the base of our fig tree, which is going to be producing tons of figs any week now, but unfortunately I think because of the cool weather that we've been having, all of the individual figs are still pretty hard. They're not ripening as quickly as I would have liked. And it wouldn't be a Green Plate Special Garden Tour if we didn't say hi to the girls. Hi everybody. Maybe we should give them a little snack. Does anybody want a treat? Let's go. I always feel very popular when I'm visiting the chickens, but it's mostly that they want me for the snacks. Do you think we'll find anything special if we look inside the chicken coop? There we go. Hey, Norma. So that's a little taste of what's been going on here. We obviously really miss having youth in the garden and can't wait until we can start programs up again. But in the meantime, we're going to keep growing food and keep giving food out to the people who need it. And we've reached a really exciting milestone this week, which is that we've donated about 500 pounds of produce from the garden here at Green Plate Special to families who needed it in our community. So I hope you all know we're thinking of you and we miss you. And let us know if there are other things you want to be learning about from us over the rest of the summer so that we can keep producing more videos and other content that you can enjoy. Bye.